Hey everyone, my name's Kevin, and I'm here to dive into the fourth episode of The Last of Us. And as always, I recommend that you've watched it beforehand because I will be diving into some spoilers specifically to this episode. So, as I said in the first episode of this show, The Last of Us is a show that's about love and the good and bad things that can come from it. Episode 4 really pushes this idea to its limits on both ends while challenging our protagonists to bring them together while also helping us to look at different perspectives. I want to start off by talking about some of the differences between the beginning and end of the episode with some important details that happen in the middle. When Ellie and Joel first roll up in their sleeping bags, Pedro Pascal does a really good job of depicting a deep sense of loneliness from Joel. He's haunted by his loss of Tess and scared for the future. Joel might not exactly be a people person, but right now he's feeling isolated and lost. But Ellie does give him a little bit of something to hold on to. As they're about to fall asleep, Ellie rolls over and says, "Can I ask a serious question?" And Joel replies with a slightly annoyed, "Yeah." Then Ellie comes back with, "Why did the Scarecrow get an award?" And Joel rolls over and says, "He was outstanding in his field." What seems like an insignificant little pun becomes a lot more when Joel rolls back over and you see for just a half a second a smile come on his face, which is really the first time that we've seen this throughout the show. And you can see that throughout this episode, the barriers that he's put up are basically all going to collapse, and him and Ellie are going to grow together into a team. For much of the middle of the episode, Joel and Ellie are going through hell. They're put through trials where Ellie ends up having to essentially kill someone to save Joel, and then she walks away, leaving this guy, Brian, bloody and helpless on the floor for Joel to finish the job. And I think what this moment really does is it shows that Ellie understands. She gets the situation that they're in, and she just lets Joel do his thing. At the same time, at the end of the situation, Joel feels like he's failed again, and he has forced this child into a situation where she's essentially had to kill somebody. But briefly after, in one of their conversations, Ellie admits that this is not her first time. This then leads into an awkward but also heartfelt conversation where these rugged characters are trying to open up to each other. But by the end of it, Joel trusts Ellie with a gun, but he also has this intimate moment of teaching her how to use it. There's this realization from Joel that he can't do this alone, and that at the same time, Ellie can also take it. She can handle herself. And I think there's one line in particular that rings true, and that's, "We're going to get through this." Pedro Pascal delivers this with so much assurance, like he's been in this situation before. And just as Ellie knows, the audience, we can tell that Joel will do whatever it takes to get them out of this shitstorm of a situation. This brings us to the end of the episode with about a half an hour of just extreme tension. We get a reprieve as they lay down in their sleeping bags again. Ellie tells this diarrhea pun, and instead of a half-second smile, Joel ends up laughing uncontrollably. When looking at this in parallel to the beginning of the episode, it's clear how much they've grown together. However, what actually stuck out to me more at the end of this episode was that Joel was the one to try and initiate a deeper conversation. He asks, "When we were talking about hurting people, what do you mean it wasn't your first time?" And Ellie says, "I don't want to talk about it." Immediately, we see the connection between them. They're both closed off and willing to chug along through the difficult situations. But now, Joel is invested as well, and it's not just Ellie asking Joel about his life. Now, we can see that their relationship is growing and that they are really a team. And hence that quote again, "We're going to get through this." On the other end of the episode, we have our antagonist in Kathleen, who is played by Melanie Lynskey. I don't think I was really the only one who was a little bit confused by this choice of actress, but I was reassured from the podcast that we should be asking questions about this because Melanie Lynskey doesn't really look the part for someone who is like an evil, "I'm gonna kill everyone" character. She looks like a sweet and loving person, which in an odd way actually makes the character even scarier. In my opinion, Lynskey does a really good job at showing range that can make the viewer both passionate and frustrated, but also kind of fearful of where this person came from and where they're going. It's clear that she is riddled with a horrific past, and beyond the humanization of our villains through Brian and dying on the floor earlier, it's impossible to ignore that Kathleen has motives for what she's doing, even if they are flawed and vindictive at their core. I'm never going to root against Joel and Ellie, but we are still forced to question their perspective. It's not the same thing as the game. Killing people means a lot more. You can't just shoot your way through an area without really thinking twice. Ellie even asks Joel if he's killed innocent people, and his silence is really just a confirmation of that fact. So we're left with all these questions. Should we root for Ellie and Joel? Personally, I think it's kind of impossible not to. And then, has Joel changed? It's not really clear. We don't know exactly what he did in his past, and we don't know what he'll do in the future. And then, will Ellie make things better, or will Joel kill more people to protect her? Only time will tell. I guess that's where I get a little bit confused as well, is on how much Mason and Druckmann really want us to be questioning our protagonists. I can't really blame Joel and Ellie for the situation that they're in right now because they didn't ask to be here. And Kathleen is also clearly on a warpath that is motivated by likely malintention. At the end of the day, both sides think that they're right from their perspective and that their love is more important. Episode 4 leaves us with these deeper morality questions building in the background. We wonder what we will condone and to what end. Throughout the 40 or so minutes, we had such a solid balance of tension and emotional development. I expect that Episode 5 will work along the same lines, bringing us some highly emotionally charged action. All right, that's my analysis for Episode 4. I'm still very hyped for where the show is going, so check back for Episode 5 next week. And if you enjoyed this, please leave a like. But yeah, thank you for watching.